Hello YouTube land, how the devil are you? Have you had a good week? My name's Lionel, thank you very much for joining me for another exciting episode of 21RC. Okay then YouTube land, a lot of you will remember the humble Clodbuster here. This has actually been sat on my shelf for quite a while, not doing a lot. I have actually taken out a few times the past couple of months since Christmas, but by and large I've had the car for 18 months. It's not really seen a great deal of action, not the frequency of which it deserves anyway, so it's not even seen any upgrades either really as such, so I thought I'll take this opportunity to bestow it with some upgrades. And today we are having a look at, I'm going to have a look at and review these. They are from the Clod Shop or UKMonsters.co.uk, as you can see on the header cards there, and they are a 4-link kit. They do 2 link kits. This gives the 12.5 inch basically. This gives it a 12.5 inch wheelbase over the standard 10-inch wheelbase. They also do a 4-link kit for the 10-inch wheelbase as well. So, but I found that if like me you've driven a Clod before, you find that it's a bit sort of toing and froing over stuff, then you might prefer the 12.5 inch kit. And I've also got these as well, and this is the lower link kit for 4 shocks, or twin shock actually, lower link kit. This will help obviously bolt your bottom of your shocks onto your axles. They do a single shock kit as well if you've got some big fat shocks on there. I am actually still running the plastic Tamiya ones, so it will look a bit stupid and look a bit strange, look a bit cheap at the top half and really cool at the bottom half. But anyway, I'm not going to go into a super sort of like detailed build that's going to like go on for hours. I'm going to just go show you the highlights and how we get these this link kit on. Right, so this is from the Clod Shop, like I say, bit of a review. Let's go with it, shall we? So we start off here with a standard Clodbuster, my standard Clodbuster. Like I said before, there are many like it, but this one is mine. And we're back to using a tripod as well. I wish I'd bothered actually using this when I was doing the boat video, which was the last video. That was all single-handed, camera in one hand and trying to do stuff with the other. No tripod involved there, but I wish I'd bothered now, because it looked a bit Blair Witch Project, didn't it, that one? But anyway, on with the show. Okay, wheels and tyres off. Let's disconnect the battery as well, because that's probably a good idea. Now, this is also a good chance for me to re-familiarise myself with the build, because since I built it like 18 months ago, whenever that September was, I really can't remember much about it. So again, like I say, this is a good chance for me to re-familiarise myself. So as you can expect, if you're fitting a link kit, all this has basically got to come off. We've got to undo the bottom of the shocks and these links here away from the central chassis and disconnect the motors. Luckily for me, when I rewired my motors, I built this little, this trick little 3D printed clip thing here, where the gold connectors you pull them out and unclip them. So that's good. I can carry on doing that. So both the motors and the job will be good. There we go, look at that, look at that. That comes undone. First thing I've done, I've turned it upside down, I've just undone these either side, just the 2 on one end, and I've just noticed that I've got a bit of a screw loose. No jokes please. Yeah, screw loose in there, so a gearbox screw has come undone, so I'll be doing that up. So yeah, like I say, good opportunity to just check things over. But that all done, I've undone everything off there, so that can now come off. And we are left with just that gearboxless. Now, at this stage, excuse me, sorry about that. I will point out that I have thought about the steering, and I haven't thought about the steering basically. So even though I have thought about the steering, I haven't done anything about it. So when I put the link kit on, I will have these are probably not going to leak and probably not going to reach the steering. So it will be unusable for a little while. But we're just going for the actual kit review at the moment. So here we go. Chassis aside, we are left with the gearbox here with your hubs and your motor and these links, which have to come off. They have to be removed from this axle. So I will get cracking on that with those links removed and some of the crud around the axles removed as well. There we have it. That's what that looks like. Now I'll put that to one side. And first things first, while that's off, we'll have a look at this. And this is the lower link mount kit for double shocks. As we can see, a couple of plates in the bag, and there looks to be some kind of instruction in there as well. So, thanks Clod Shop. You've got some instructions in there, which is always handy. Right, so let's have a look. As we can see, the header card is obviously environmentally friendly, should we say. Made of just plain simple cardstock there, not very thick, so that can go in the recycle bin. And it's got a little resealable baggie as well, if you're into that sort of thing. You can reuse the bag. So we'll tip it all out. What you do with Lego, just tip it all out. Chuck the bag to one side. Right, let's have a look at these carbon components. Now, as we can see, I'm assuming that this axle sits in here with my finger. Some of this is going to be for the links, obviously. So 3 different positions there by the looks of things for each link. And this is a bolt onto the gearbox itself. And these are for the shocks. So it would appear. Right, so now as you can see, there are 4 of those in the kit. Enough for the entire truck. And we've got a bag of hardware here. We've got some M3 machine screws, some plain nuts, some nylon nuts actually, and some spacers. So should all go ahead. Should all go together nicely. Right, we have a bit of printed card here for instructions. Right, so here we go. Number 1, it says, the axle tubes need an extra 3mm hole drilling in the same position as the original. You can use the lower link mount plate as a guide. So I'm assuming it means here. So that would be. So I'm gonna have to remove the. I'm gonna have to remove these hubs here, these steering hubs, and I'm guessing that the screw that joins this metal plate onto this steering hub here, C plate, the C hub, wants an extra hole drilling, or opening out at least. So it does say extra 3mm hole. So, and then it gives instructions for the spacers and the screws. So that's number 2. When using the stock axle tube braces, put the 4mm spacer at the top and the 6mm spacer at the bottom. So let's put that into practice, shall we, and crack on. Before we do anything else, though, before we go any further, I'd just like to have a look to see what's in the bag. So, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 plates, so that's good. And we have 8 bolts, 8 screws there at the top. And we have corresponding 8 nuts as well to go with the 8 bolts, 8 screws, or whatever you want to call them. Screws, really, technically, because you need a screwdriver on the end. And as we can see, we have 4 thin spacers and 4 slightly larger spacers. So everything in the bag, everything is in the bag, present and correct. So without further ado, so that's good. Good job, Clod Shop. Well organised there with the instructions as well. I like it. So far, so good. Let's carry on. So what I have discovered is in preparing these gearboxes for drilling to fit these plates on. Now you have to do it by eye. Now he recommends, Ryan at UKMonsters recommends you can use this as a template, which is a very good idea. Now, but what I found is obviously because it's bolting on the inside of there, and you've got to do it by eye. There's no actual pattern. There is obviously room for the plate to move around, and if it moves around too much, you get these plates. You're going to have 4 of these plates sat in different positions like that on the axle. So what I've elected to do is I found 2 old shock standoffs from an old Ansman kit kicking around, and I have screwed the top one in there. As you can see, that's got the shock standoff in there from the outside, screwed to the pre-existing brace, and I've got another shock standoff on the other side where I need to drill the hole. And I've elected to line that up as good as I possibly can. So if you can do this on all 4, that'll be very beneficial, and you'll stand a better chance of getting the thing square in there. So all these years in engineering have served me well and taught me little things like that. So you can just look at it square on and get it as good as you can by eye. Make sure this one here is nicely screwed down, so it's really sandwiched together, and that doesn't flop around too much. So when you stick a drill in it, it won't go everywhere. So if you make sure that's screwed down nicely, you get a quite good like a template there to like a secure, like a drilling jig basically. So obviously the shock standoff will stop the plate from bending and going inwards. And so there we go. That will be our drilling jig, and I will do that for all four. Let's see how that turns out, shall we? Despite my template attempt, as you can see, that has actually, the template must have moved a little bit. As you can see, that is slightly off centre. Now the pitch is always going to be really good because I was using a plate, but that is not in the middle of those two reinforcing beams, which is what I wanted. I don't know why it did that. Maybe it moved at the last second as I touched down onto the material, but as you can see there, it is slightly on the wonk, so I'm a little bit annoyed about that. If the same thing happens to you, I guess you could always use a little Dremel or a needle file just to elongate the hole this way a little bit or that way, just so it's more of a slot, so that way you can then adjust the plate for movement that way. But that's just something just to be aware of. But that is what can happen when it all goes a bit Pete Tong. There is the first shock mount bolted on there. Now the screws, as I found out, actually you will need a decent they are actually bolts. You'll need a decent Allen driver for these. These are a 2mm fitment. So if you haven't got any Allen drivers, where the hell have you been? So go and sort yourself out some decent Allen drivers and get cracking. You'll need a decent 2mm one. Now, right, so these bolts do actually fall short of the end of the nylon nuts, but that's not anyone's fault really. If you ever have bought hardware over the internet or from a hardware store, like I have, you will know that bolts are only available in certain sizes. So unless Clod Shop UK Monster guys spend ages just turning off 2 or 3mm off the end of hundreds and hundreds of M3 bolts, then which would make the price point entirely unreasonable. And then you will know that you will just take that as a pinch of salt and go, well, it's slightly shy, but it doesn't matter because it is what it is. So there we have it. Both the lower shock mounts on, lower link mounts on, and lower shock mounts on, whatever they're called, whatever you want to call them really. I bolted the steering knuckles back on as well, as you can see. Further to my drilling faux pas on that first hole, I did actually do the same with the second hole as well, which was a bit of a thing. But I went in the same direction, so they are actually exactly the same, so that's good. That is both gearboxes with the lower link mounts attached, as we can see there. Let's have a look. This is the other half of the other one I just did. Now I did actually do a better job with this one. They are actually pretty much in the middle there on the bottom, so that is good. But yeah, they're both the same, and so they're not all over the show. So, right, let's see what we have in the link bar kit. Here we go. Here's the link bar kit in the bag. UKMonsters.co.uk Clod Shop. Yeah, check it out. Just have a goggle on the internet for Clod Shop, and I'm sure you'll find these guys. Pull the header card off. That in a recycle bin because we're environmentally friendly. As you can see, it's another baggie. If you want to keep that and use that for whatever, you're quite welcome, I guess. Again, we have some standard issue nylon nuts and some fasteners there. No doubt 2mm hex driver friendly once again. Same again there. And we have the actual links. Carbon plates, one for either side by the looks of things, and one for the bottom. So again, they are in a bag. Now let's have a look at these links. Right, so we have aluminium sleeving there. No doubt it's probably got some M3 studding inside there. Looking down the link, the ball ends do seem to be line astern, so that's pretty good. And we have some ball link inserts either end. I don't know who makes these ball ends, these rod ends. Any ideas? Let me know in the comments. That'd be great. So let's have a quick quality control check. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8. So that's enough to do the car. So that's good. They're all in there. And we have a little instruction leaflet as well, so that's good. Okay, so another quick look at the rod ends, at the actual links themselves. Now I did have a quick look at the instruction booklet and, well, leaflet thing, and actually I showed you the one that was with the 2 rod ends line astern. There are actually 4 that are rotated 90 degrees to one another. So these are actually for the bottom links, so just separate them and bear that in mind for later on. So here's the chassis, what there is left of it. Right, so we pop it upside down and straight away I can see something wrong here. Now over the time this has come loose, check it out. So yeah, even if you're not actually doing anything with your Clodbuster and not putting this link kit on, I would advise to actually check stuff is actually fastened nice and tight in a periodic manner. To be honest, I haven't bothered. I'll run this and then it's sat on my shelf. There we are, that's the underside. We're going to have to meddle with that to stick these plates on. Let's have a look at the instruction leaflet. Number 1. You can read it yourself. Ta-da! So, I've undone the side bits, taken all the ball links off, and you will find that you'll have to remove your steering servo. Just for clearance really, just to get it out of the way. As you can see, I've just undone this, and as you can also see, here's a good time to check everything out, because I don't you look at it either, you just use it and stick it on the shelf. But look, these steering links, they are super bent. So yeah, that's wow. Okay, so 18 months of ownership and the steering links have ended up like this. Now, so clearly before I do anything with that, these aren't going to reach anyway because I've got the 12.5 inch kit, so the gearboxes are going to be 3/4 of an inch longer and further away from this anyway, so these links aren't actually going to reach. But check it out. If you do run a standard servo or standard wheelbase kit, or you are actually going for the 10 inch kit actually that Clod Shop does, check out your steering links, because you might want to give them some attention as well. But yes, luckily I found that. But yes, you will have to remove the steering servo. You don't have to remove it entirely, but just get it out of the way and maybe duct tape it to the side or cable tie it or something, because you need to get into the bottom there. Now, looking at the washer, let's have a bit of washer education. If you've ever wondered, well, one side is slightly domed and kind of nice looking, and the other side is kind of just a pressed out, unwieldy, untidy looking affair. You really want a nice, smoothy, roundy surface to go up against the carbon plate. Now that applies to anything else in the realms of washer, which I've just dropped on the floor. Like I said, that applies to anything else when you're using washer. Always put the roundy, smoothy side up against the paintwork or the bodywork, and use the crappy looking pressed side out towards the fastener head. That's a little tip there from the engineering world. So that applies to everything and anything that has a washer on it. Okay, I've got the side plates on and the 4 outer side links, or whatever you want to call them. You know, I've got those on. Right, so now I need to put the centre ones in. But what I've observed is now would be a good time for anyone, including myself, to reinstall your steering servo, because there's 2 of the screws I've just popped through the hole, and that is the bottom carbon plate for the lower links. As you can see, although there's a slot in there, if you've got the standard Phillips ones, you won't be able to get a Phillips screwdriver in there to do those up. So if you've got a 2mm hex head screws holding the servo in, you might be alright, but I haven't, so I'm going to stick the steering servo back in, and so I can get this plate on, basically. And as Columbo said, and another thing, before you actually do put the servo in, you may notice that the plate bolts into these 4 holes using nylock nuts. Here we go, down there, 2 there, and 2 on the other end. Now you may notice that the steering servo, once in position, actually hides access to one of the holes in which you need to place a nylock nut. So what I have saw fit to do is, before I screw the steering servo back down, I placed the nylock nut in the hole already, and on the other side just taken one of the ball links there and just screwed it in a few turns, just so it holds the nylock nut in position and doesn't fall out while I screw this back up. There we have all 4 links, or all 8 links actually, attached to the chassis, all carbon plates on. Now that idea I had a moment ago with the ball link did actually work. Just remember to, when you remove the ball link, do it upside down, and just remove it upside down, and then when you put the new screw in, just kind of like put it in by hand, get a couple of threads in there before you attack it with the hex driver. But yes, that was absolutely no fuss, no muss. It went in there nicely. Like I say, if you do that, stick the ball link on the nut before you put the servo back in. So that is all there, as we can see, all assembled. Let's get the gearboxes on and see how it actually looks. And there we have it, all assembled. Front and rear gearboxes on there. And yeah, there we go. So that is the UKMonsters stroke Clodshop 12-inch wheelbase 4-link kit. Now, a couple of things. If I was actually in a bit of a rush to put it all back together, so don't make the same mistake I did and get the gearboxes on the wrong end, because you'll find your steering links do not match up with the holes in the chassis. So that's one thing. And also bear in mind that you need to the actual standard Tamiya brass ball links on the end of the shocks do actually fit these link mounts as well. But bear in mind, don't make the same mistake I did and assemble them before assembling everything else. You need to put the brass ball joints actually on the inside of the lower link mounts there, just to I put them on the outside at first, put it all together, and the shocks were kind of like a bit of a kimbo there as you look at it from the end, and I thought, that's wrong. Right, so there we go. That is the 4-link kit. It looks nice as well. You'll also notice the absence of the anti-rotation lug that normally sits on the stock OE part. I've taken that part out. Obviously it has no anti-rotation thing on there anymore, but it is actually quite a sturdy thing, so I don't think it's going anywhere. I have taken the liberty of sticking one of the 6mm screws that came out of the out of here with the metal plate behind it. Use one of these 6mm screws, pops in that hole quite nicely, just to stop the dirt getting in there really. So that's quite nice. So with this being a 12-inch conversion, what does it actually look like? Well, here's a tape rule. It's called a tape rule. So if I stick that on that axle and that one on that axle, as you can see here, that measured up about 11.5 inches. So it's not strictly 12 inches, it falls kind of half an inch shy. Ryan, old boy, you might want to check on your trigonometry. You know, it is actually a half inch shy of being 12 inch. So that's a little bit disappointing, but it is actually a quality, they are quality pieces of kits there. And here we have the myriad of parts left over. So we have the beams there. Plastic beams with the anti-rotation thing attached. So we have got 4 of those overall, and a magnetic tray full of screws, ball links, and bits of plate. They can be all bagged up and put in my spare box, you know, for the future if anything goes wrong. But yeah, that's pretty much what you'll be left over with once you've done the conversion. So here we go, all back together again. As you can see, the body shell is attached and the wheels are on. Obviously I haven't connected any steering or anything up yet, because that requires some more work, so there's definitely be some more auto shenanigans going on right there. Well, so also what I did notice is that if I can bring this up here, where the chassis is a little bit long, where the wheelbase is a little bit longer now, you do actually have a little bit more suspension, a little bit more room there underneath the chassis. So you could probably if like me, you've still got the original shocks, which are absolutely awful. You've still got the rubber bump stops in here. You could probably trim them down, maybe another 5 or 6 mil, maybe, or 1/4 of an inch if you're of a certain age. So yes, so yeah, overall quality is quite good. I'm really pleased. It does look very, very good, doesn't it? The old 4-link kit on there looks very nice. It does give a bit of an extra length, as you can see. Let me just line those wheels up. Get more of an impression. It does actually look genuinely more like an actual monster truck rather than like a big toy, so that is good. Anyway, so yeah, I recommend that. That is the UKMonsters. Let me just show you the sticker, which is now curled over. The UKmonsters.co.uk. Check them out, the Clod Shop. I hope you liked the video. If you did, there's a button specifically for that. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. That'd be wicked sweet awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, whatever it is you get up to. My name's Lionel, and I'll see you next time on another exciting episode of 21RC.